What does the long-term trajectory of cognitive communication therapy look like? Keep watching to find out. My role in cognitive communication treatment is like that of a coach. My clients are my professional athletes. I give them the tools and exercises they need to get better at activities of daily living, specifically in communication contexts that are important to them. But I can't do the exercises for them. It's up to them to actually do the work. I can't wave a magic wand and fix it. I really wish I could. But that's part of the reason why I make all of these handouts. For me, if I were in my client's shoes, I would need to understand the how and why I'm being asked to do what I'm being asked to do. It needs to make sense to me in order for me to buy in and also for me to remember, why is it important? How is it going to help me? It's going to take a lot of energy for me to do the thing. I'd like to know the hows and whys if I'm going to exert all that energy. This theoretical framework of cognitive communication disorders was created by Sheila McDonald. I really like this graphic because it really captures the extent and breadth of cognitive communication treatment. We need to know who the client is communicating with, how familiar are they with their communication partners, what role do they play? Is it a parent or a sibling or a colleague or boss? And what tasks are they communicating in? What are the goals? Are they persuading? Are they selling? Are they explaining? Are they directing? What are the demands of them? Do they have to make quick decisions? Do they have to read? Do they have to participate in long meetings? And where are they communicating? Are they communicating on loud construction sites? Speech pathologists also have to consider the individual domain. How old was the person at the time of the injury? What is their culture, their communication style? What kind of injury did they have? Where are they in their stage of recovery? These four circles are all intertwined. You can see there's arrows pointing in every direction. It's because they are all linked together. So cognition includes skills like how fast your brain can process information. In other videos, I refer to it as your turtle brain. It's moving more slowly because it's been injured. Cognition also includes your ability to focus on information and ignore distractions, or hold information in head while performing some kind of action, like making a judgment or a decision. Reasoning processes, social cognition, like interpreting facial expressions and tones of voice. Communication includes not only hearing the sounds, but what is our brain doing with the sounds once it gets in? Central auditory processing. Our ability to find words, execute them in a logical and sequential manner. Our ability to have back and forth dialogue in a conversation. Our ability to read and understand texts, blueprints, emails, product manuals, safety guidelines, etc. Written expression. Do you need to write reports? Do you need to update medical files? And social interaction. What are your leisure interests? Do you like to play card games? Do you like to play board games? Are you a scrapbooker? We know that emotions impact cognitive communication skills. Anxiety, depression, frustration and anger, stress, self-concept and confidence are all impacted after a brain injury. Furthermore, clients can also have physical challenges related to communication, including hearing and visual perception challenges, motor speech like apraxia or neurogenic stuttering, changes to your voice and the music and the melody of your voice, as well as challenges with sleep, chronic fatigue, and pain, headache, and dizziness. All of these factors impact your ability to communicate with your family in the community, like at stores, banks, medical appointments, impacts your ability to communicate socially. Lots of people withdraw and become socially isolated after an acquired brain injury. Workplace communications are impacted. Returning to school can be challenging. Managing your own information related to your finances, your medical health, and other important topics. And problem-solving communication, either interpersonal problem solving like with your spouse or at work or just day-to-day problems. So my job is to help them return to the roles and contexts that matter to them. Has their ability to be a parent or a spouse or a sibling or a community participant been impacted? Have they been able to return to their recreation and leisure activities? Were they able to return to work or school or volunteering? Returning to church is an important goal as well, but it can be really challenging due to the acoustics and overstimulation, especially for clients with sounds and vision sensitivity. How do we accomplish these goals? The research tells us that targeting skills in isolation, for example, if I just give a client a worksheet and say, here, do this, if the client can get through the worksheet without any help from me, I'm not doing anything helpful. The evidence to support that approach is bad. Rather, the evidence says that teaching clients to think about how they think or metacognition, the evidence for that technique is fantastic. However, that method requires that we learn new habits, which is the third thing. Training clients to develop unconscious habits, the evidence for this is amazing. So essentially, I just hammer home metacognitive skills and we practice and practice and practice, apply to functional tasks and situations until it becomes a habit for the client. And in my 10 years of doing cognitive communication treatment, I tell you, it really does work. Importantly, my reference for this research is Dr. Lynn Turkstra's presentation on intervention for adolescents and adults with cognitive communication disorders after acquired brain injury. And interestingly, regardless of the cause, the above ideas will apply to clients with cognitive communication difficulties who have similar neuropsychological profile as those with traumatic brain injury. So it's not just for clients with traumatic brain injury, but also for those who have challenges that are similar to traumatic brain injuries. You know, I love my metaphors. I tell my clients we have to think like a chess master. I've heard that chess masters can envision up to 7 moves in advance and anticipate the consequences. This is what I'm trying to help my clients develop is the skill to anticipate challenges and come up with strategies to head off those challenges in advance. We know you have trouble finding your words. You're going to experience word finding challenges at Christmas dinner. What are you going to do about it? Let's practice now. What? Another metaphor? I'm so surprised. This is my mind map metaphor for cognitive communication therapy. In this metaphor, I'll use the term destination to mean what your cognitive communication goal is, where you want to get to. For example, you want to remember what I'm teaching you in this video. That is your goal. That is a building on your map. The term directions then means how do we get to our goal? What strategies do you need to use to get to your destination? So directions are the actual streets on your map. The strategies we use to get to our goals. Stage 1 of cognitive communication treatment involves drawing the destinations on your map. What are your cognitive communication goals? What is the most important thing for you to get back to? Is it, I want to be able to play cards with my friends? Is it, I want to be able to give my daughter relationship advice? Is it, I want to help my partner manage the family finances or manage the kids' schedules? Is it, I'm the power of attorney for my parents and I need to decide the best course of action for their medical care? So that is step 1. What are the client's goals? What do they want to get back to? In this phase, it's mostly information dumping from me, where I teach them what is memory, what is attention, how does it work, what are the factors that impact it. Once you know that, I then teach you strategies. Okay, so we know that fatigue and pain impact attention and memory. What can we do to reduce your fatigue and pain symptoms so that you're better able to pay attention and remember important information? For specific ideas about that, go see my video on strategy menus. Importantly, as clients are learning all of this information, it's a lot to absorb. And in another video, I explained that because I tailor my communication to my clients' specific cognitive communication challenges, because they don't have to sprint on their treadmill to keep up with what I'm saying. It's more like I'm on a light incline, but a slow pace. So yes, it's still effortful for them to keep up with what I'm saying, but I'm simplifying my language. I'm using familiar concepts that they already know in their library and their long-term memory. I'm adding pauses and I'm giving them breaks, which they're not getting from other people. But even though I'm going slower and using all of these adaptive strategies, it's like stamina training over speed training. You're still exhausted afterwards. So often in my activity points diet video, I was lamenting how speech language pathology was only rated as a 2-point activity. And I said, I'm worth at least 3 points. Thank you very much. Well, it's true because often, despite my best efforts, my clients are pooped after my sessions. And in fact, I've heard that their other rehabilitation providers advise that my clients not see anyone on the same day after one of my sessions. After stage 1 is completed, we know our destination. We know where we want to get to. We have an idea of what's going on, and we have tools and strategies that we have learned about for how to get there. So the buildings are on our map, and we've now drawn the roads to get there. Stage 2 involves practicing using the map. So we are planning the route we need to take to get to our destination. Think about a place that you go to on the regular, whether it's work, school, grocery store, what have you. Do you need to read a map to get there? No. You've probably memorized it, right? Why? Because you've done it so often. That's exactly what we want to emulate here. To translate into cognitive communication terms, if the destination is, I want to remember what to tell Jess during our speech appointment, the directions or the roads or the strategies you need to get there include pace yourself over several days to write down important information and read that during speech sessions. The more you practice something, the more automatic it will become. We are building unconscious habits through repetition, just like what the research says. Over time, I have seen again and again that clients internalize these strategies and apply them unconsciously to the point where I have to point it out to them. Look at what you just did all by yourself. I didn't need to prompt you. You thought of it independently and you actually did it. That is progress. What happens though when new destinations arise? We need to expand our map or add more to it. While frequent routes become much easier, new tasks will always be somewhat challenging, and that's true across the board. You don't know what you don't know. Clients who I have seen over the course of years ask, Jessica, I've been coming to see you for years. Why am I still so tired after each session? And I tell them it's because I'm making the sessions harder. There's no point in you coming to see me if I'm not titrating the level of difficulty based on my client's skill level. SLP sessions will likely tire you out each time because as you get better in some tasks, your SLP is going to change the task demands. For example, adding more background noise or adding visual distractions. But just because it remains hard does not mean you are regressing. It does not mean you're not getting better. In fact, it means the opposite. You are getting better, so the task has to get more challenging to take you to the next level. Clients want recovery to be linear. You want to see a clear up, 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 up trend. Unfortunately, that's not what it looks like. It's more like a stock market graph where the general trend is upward, but if you zoom in on any given day from day to day, it can feel like you're regressing. That is not the case, and I often have to reassure clients of this. We've talked about compound skill use, where as strategies become unconscious habits, we start to add strategies together, which is compound skill use, and so your performance can start to show exponential improvement, theoretically. Having worked on multidisciplinary rehabilitation teams for most of my career, I very much understand the importance of a holistic approach. Things do not exist in isolation, especially in the body. We are a system of systems. To improve cognitive communication skills, we need to make sure we are taking care of the basics. Giving you cognitive communication strategies without enforcing strategies to help underlying issues is not going to be as effective. It's like slapping a band-aid on a wound that hasn't been cleaned. If we compare it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the very foundational thing Maslow proposes is we need our physiological needs met: food, water, warmth, and rest. That's essentially what I'm going for here, is to reinforce you have to take care of the basics. They're one of the easiest things to overlook, but one of the most important things for your cognitive communication recovery. In my work, I collaborate with social work and occupational therapy and physiotherapy to help clients improve their sleep hygiene, to help them improve their nutrition and hydration. If you're not giving the brain the fuel it needs to recover, you're not going to recover. I help reinforce mental health strategies like managing stress, and I also help reinforce exercise protocols as recommended by the other healthcare professionals. You know, when you really, really, really need the washroom and everything feels super urgent, that's what it can feel like for people with brain injury when the above needs are not met. If you are hungry or dehydrated or in pain or not sleeping, everything feels like a crisis. You become that much more susceptible to spiking into emotion brain, which then gives you more cognitive communication challenges, which can frustrate you further, and it just becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. A really important tool that can help clients build insight and awareness into their internal states is this self-rating tool. So on a scale from 1 to 10, do an internal scan and give yourself a rating. If your score is between 1 to 3, you are probably ready to achieve things. If your score is between a 4 to 6, you can probably manage completing short and easy tasks. If your score is between a 7 and 10, 10 meaning total stress and exhaustion, tasks will be challenging for you. With this numerical value, you can then make strategic, informed decisions about what tasks you attempt, for how long, and how many breaks you will need, or how much time you will need to complete the task over the course of multiple days. If your score is elevated in the red zone, the next step is to unpack why. Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you in pain? What can we do, if anything, to get your score lower? For more details about how to get those scores lower, you can see my video on the strategy menus. So here's how I prepare my clients for our journey together. I provide handouts like the ones I show in my videos, containing education and strategies to help them cope with specific cognitive communication challenges. But it's important that I help my clients organize all of this information, because over the course of working together for 3 years for weekly or bi-weekly sessions, that's a lot of handouts for my clients. So I help them by creating a cheat sheet or a table of contents. Step 1, I invite them to come up with some organizational method, like a filing cabinet with folders, or a binder with dividers, or some sort of digital storage solution. I tell my clients to organize the handouts I send them according to topic. For example, most of my handouts have what section the skill is in at the very top in the title. So you'll know whether it's supposed to go in the section for oral expression, attention, memory, or auditory comprehension, etc. Step 3, how are you going to remember which handouts and resources you have available without you having to flip through your entire book every single time? This is where the table of contents comes in handy. I suggest to my clients that they can practice using the Cornell Notes template. See another video for details on that. In the left column, I invite them to list the section, like attention. And then in the notes section, I invite them to just write down the titles of all of my handouts I've given them pertaining to that specific skill. And at the bottom of Cornell Notes is a summary. When I discover a new communication destination or goal, I will look through this list and review strategies I may have forgotten about. This will help me adapt to new situations and improve my communicative performance. Again, that's a lot of information. I developed these tools to help myself over the last 10 years because I was faced with questions I didn't really know how to answer. So thinking about cognitive communication concepts in terms of these metaphors has helped me be a better clinician, because I feel more comfortable and confident in my communication to the clients, and I feel confident that I'm making it accessible. I'm not just throwing out jargon that they're not familiar with. And that's what makes it easier for them to keep up with what I'm saying. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck, and I hope these strategies help you out in your practice as well.